Good afternoon and a very warm welcome indeed to today's iOB business webinar. It's a real pleasure to have you on here. It's a real pleasure to be here presenting as always. So in today's conversation, we're going to be talking about ensuring the smooth running of a digital agency in 2021. Okay, so one of the most important things that we could possibly go through with digital agency owners and prospective digital agency owners is how we can ensure the smooth running of very said agency. Okay, so today's webinar, if you haven't joined us on one of these webinars before, the way we usually run these is that I do a brief introduction. I'm here on camera with you just now. We're going to dive into the presentation. We're going to run through that for around about 15 to 20 minutes. And then we are going to get to a Q&A at the end. So I always have a few questions to answer. I always love answering these questions. So please do not hesitate in getting these questions over to us if you do have any specific questions throughout the webinar. Now, it really helps if you have a specific reference point. So please do note it. Please do fire the question over. You can do that anytime throughout the webinar and we will get to it at the end. Okay, so I'm just going to give it a minute or two to let everybody join us today. And I am going to get us set up on today's presentation. So very shortly, you should be able to see myself along with the webinar presentation that we have up on screen here today. So what I'm going to do just before we get started today, we're very close to the beginning now, is just to double check that everybody can hear me okay, everybody can see me okay. If you just give me a little confirmation, that would be excellent. You can see the screen okay. Fantastic. Okay, well, it looks like we're all good to go. So I'm just going to gear up, switch off this camera here, and we are good to get started with today's webinar. So as I discussed earlier on, we're going to be talking about ensuring the smooth running of a digital agency. Okay, now we're talking specifically about this year and many years beyond, okay, because a lot of the principles that we're going to be sharing with you on today's presentation are universal and very long lasting. Okay, that's the way we like to do business here at iOB Business. So your presenter today is myself, Ben Porter-Smith. I'm a professional business coach and I specialize in working with small businesses and helping them achieve stability and growth. This is what I love. You can probably hear the passion in my voice, and this is what I do every single day. Okay, so it's a real privilege to be on here presenting this webinar with you today. So today's session, what we're going to be talking about, planning your business structure. Okay, massively important part to ensuring that your digital agency runs as smoothly as it can is making sure that our business structure is in place to handle the workload that we are asking of it. Second thing we're going to be talking about is counteracting mistakes before they occur. Really important. We want to read just a little bit into the future to make sure that we're counteracting any potential future problems. And finally, we're going to be talking about reviewing your business regularly. Okay, because of course, one of the most important elements of making sure that your business is running as smoothly as it can is reviewing it time and time again. Okay, making sure that you're checking for any mistakes, making sure that you're smoothing out any processes that need work. Okay, so beginning today with planning your business structure, topic number one. Okay, first thing I'm going to share with you today is to create an organizational system to manage your clients effectively. Now, client management is one of the biggest parts of running a digital agency. Now, the reasoning behind this is because in order to run a digital agency successfully, you must be a master in organizing your clients. So don't worry, because we're going to show you exactly how to do that throughout today's presentation. Okay, so whether you're a prospective business owner, digital agency owner, or whether you're a current digital agency owner, this content is going to be just as valuable to you. Now, the reason behind creating an organizational system to manage your clients effectively is to keep them happy, and equally as importantly, it keeps you happy because you know where to find things when you need to find them. You make sure that nobody gets missed. More importantly, you make sure that you're not missing anything important for each client. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to ensure that all information, first of all, is stored nice and securely. This needs to be password protected. You need to comply with any kind of regulatory laws in your country to make sure that information is being protected and it's not being shared with any third parties unless that client gives very explicit permission for you to do so. So any and all information that you store from clients must be stored securely, password protected. Then it must also not reach any third parties without explicit permission. Okay. Now it's important to note that especially here in the UK, that client does also have the option and the access to any of that information. They are entitled to understand any and all of the information that you hold on them. They're also possible for them to ask you to withdraw this information at any time and remove it completely. Okay, so now next, organize your prospects and current clients by tier of service. Okay, so likely as a digital agency owner or prospective owner, you will have a list of services that you offer. Okay, now generally we recommend offering 1 to 3 core offerings. Now, core offering is essentially what you do as a business. It's how you serve your clients, okay? So what you want to do is organize your prospects and your current clients by tier of service. So say, for example, you offer 3 packages. You've got starter, you've got enterprise, and you've got business level packages. And make sure that these are stored with your clients so that you know who is where, okay? So one of the most effective systems with file management and file organization is just making sure that everybody is in the right category, okay? So if you've got 3 clients in the starter package, you've got 3 clients in the enterprise package, and you've got 3 clients in the business package, make sure that these are all separated and stored securely so that if you need to access any information about one of your starter package clients, you can just dive in there and open it up, no worries, okay? Now, I know that some agencies choose to organize alphabetically, others do it numerically. The way that we find most successful and most easy for you to operate is certainly organizing by tier of client. Why? Because you can access the service that you need ASAP, okay? Next up, we have managing your prospects in a sales pipeline. Okay, now this one we absolutely cannot emphasize enough, because you have them in a pipeline, you know what's going on with your prospects at all times. So one of the key elements of closing sales is understanding your prospects and understanding the journey of your prospects. Okay, so we've got many stages. We've got stages such as the prospecting stage. And this is when a prospect has just begun talking with you, okay? Now, just because they haven't booked any official call yet, or they haven't actually bought from you yet, doesn't mean that they're not worthy of your attention. We need to make sure that we've got this prospect over there, that we're paying them attention, we're making sure that they're okay, and we're encouraging them to book a call with us, okay? So the next stage could be, okay, we booked a call. Maybe it's a follow-up. Maybe you've sent them a brochure. Maybe you're waiting for them to send money over and pay your invoice so that you can get started on work. Keep all of this in a staged pipeline. The reason you do this is so that you know where everyone is at all times and you're not missing anyone. You're not missing any fundamental stages that you might accidentally miss, but can be very, very important and almost critical to signing that client. Okay, so it's very, very important. Let's recap over that again before we go on to the next point, okay? So we've got creating an organizational system to manage your clients effectively. Why? Because it's easier for you and it's easier for them. Happiness, longevity, all of these wonderful things come when you have a solid organizational system. Next up, ensure that all information is stored securely. Protect yourself and protect your clients' information, okay? Next, organize your prospects and current clients by tier of service. Make them easy to find, segment them accordingly, and make sure that everyone is being looked after in the relevant package, the one that they pay for, the one that you provide for them. Make sure that it's nice and easy to find and any information that you need. And next, manage your prospect in a sales pipeline, okay? This, if you're gonna take one thing home from this slide today, manage your prospects in a sales pipeline. It is the single biggest thing that I see missing as a business coach in businesses today, okay? And finally, utilize an all-in-one dashboard such as the all-in-one solution provided by iOB Business. The solutions that we provide here at iOB Business encapsulate everything that I've just discussed and everything that we're going to continue to discuss throughout this webinar. If you can utilize an effective platform like this one, you really can propel yourself forward as a successful digital agency owner. And of course, the one thing that we all want in business is success, okay? So moving on, counteracting mistakes before they occur, okay? Now this one is very, very cool. And it's cool because it helps you read into your business. We can counteract those crucial errors, those crucial mistakes that we don't want to happen before they actually occur, okay? Now you might be wondering yourself, Ben, what on earth are you talking about? How can I counteract things before they've happened? Okay, now that is a brilliant question. And that is why I'm so pleased to be on here showing you this today, okay? So the first thing that I'm going to talk to you about is when you solve a problem, record the solution, okay? Now, the reason that you record this solution is because you want your business to be efficient. If we're talking specifically about the smooth running of a digital agency, we need things to be efficient. That means every process, every document, every section of file management needs to be organized, needs to be efficient. We need to be happy, we need to be successful. The way we do this is by keeping our business clean and organized. Okay, so when you solve a problem, record the solution. Now, this is important for 2 reasons. Number 1, when the problem occurs again, you're not going to wonder how you solved it, because we all have this thing. When we're solving problems, we'll go into the problem, we'll go into almost like a rabbit hole like mental area of solution where we're working through all the possible causes, we're working through all the possible solutions, and our brain becomes so busy that we don't actually know quite how we did it. We just know that it is now done and we let it go. We pass it to the side and we think, brilliant, I'm never going to have to deal with that again. But then, shock, horror, surprise, 6 months down the line, which we absolutely don't want, the problem arises again. And because we didn't record the solution, we're just setting ourselves up to go back down into that exact same rabbit hole. So the first reason that you record the solution is because you can reference back and you could say, this is how I solved it the last time, and I can do it even faster this time. So instead of taking up 3 hours on your Monday morning, you can solve it in 10 minutes. Job done, happy days. Now, the second reason that you'll want to record the solution is because another team member, if you choose to outsource, delegate, or expand your team in any way, will also need to know how to solve that exact same problem. If you have recorded the solution, if this problem arises for them, you can simply pass over the document. You say, look, here you go. Just go and deal with that because you've got the solution right here. And that is what is so incredibly valuable to a business, is to have these documents ready to go when they need to go. Okay. So on this exact principle, we're going to look at creating standard operating procedures. Okay. So when we're looking at a standard operating procedure, it's SOP for short. The day-to-day running of the business is where these will be most popular and where these are most valuable. Okay, so a standard operating procedure, if you're not familiar with the term, is essentially a document in which is the optimal way of doing something, any task, each way that it is done. Now, different people choose to develop these in different ways. Some people will use bullet pointed lists, others will use detailed documents. It's really up to you how you want to create a standard operating procedure. But in essence, to explain it simply, the way you create a standard operating procedure is you take a task or a process and you record it. So just like we spoke about there, when you solve a problem, record the solution. A standard operating procedure is something like, let's just say, for example, you're setting up a paid ad on Facebook and you want other members of your team to know how to do this as well. So you say, okay, well, step 1, you open up Facebook. Step 2, you find the business manager. Step 3, you go into the ad campaigns. And step 4, you begin developing your advert, and so on and so forth. So obviously I won't go through it all, but you get the picture. So creating standard operating procedures for the day-to-day running of the business, you can do this in any element. You can do it for hiring team members. You can do it for any kind of reviews or any kind of work that goes on within your agency. You can do it for client care. You can do it for client management. The list is quite literally endless on what you could do with standard operating procedures. But the really key ones that you should put standard operating procedures in place for now is organization and management, sales, and marketing. Okay, those are the 3 absolutely core things that you want to be working through just now. So SOPs, utilize them. They will absolutely categorically sculpt your business into an efficiency machine if done correctly. Okay. Now, counteracting mistakes before they occur again. And of course, just to retouch on that, actually, with the standard operating procedures, one of the biggest and most beneficial points that we can reiterate in this exact circumstance of counteracting mistakes before they occur is that by using standard operating procedures, you are recording the optimal way of doing something. Okay. So with that logic in place, we now know that because of this, mistakes are not going to occur. Okay. So finally, we have implement the use of key performance indicators, allowing you to forecast and track pitfalls before they occur. Okay. So using this principle again, key performance indicators are essentially a daily or weekly recording of key performance statistics. Okay. So we've got things like sales, we've got things like marketing, we've got things like operational efficiencies that we want to record on a daily or weekly basis. Now, the reason that we do this is so that we are aware and understanding of what is going on in our business all the time. Okay, so if you're asking, okay, Ben, well, how could a key performance indicator help me counteract something before it actually happens? Okay, I'm going to share that with you just now. So let's say that you record KPI statistics on a weekly basis. All right. So your monthly target, let's say, is £1,000. Your monthly financial target is £1,000. Now, by using simple logic, in order to record and successfully attain £1,000 a month, we must earn £250 per week. Okay. So that's 250 times 4 weeks equals £1,000 at the end of the month. That's our target. So let's say week 1 statistic, we've earned £250. Week 2 statistic, we've earned £100. Okay, now in week 3, we are already behind. By week 3, we should have earned £500, which would be halfway to our £1,000 target, but we've only earned £350. Okay, now 2 things here. We now know this. So in week 3, we know that we have to build on and improve our financial earnings. Otherwise, we're not going to hit our monthly target of £1,000. We're supposed to have earned 500 so far. We've only actually earned 350, okay, or 300. So that means now that we have to earn the £250 that we're due in week 3 with the addition of the shortfall or the pitfall from week 2, Okay, so the way that this is going to help counteract an issue before it actually occurs is by solving a problem before the big deadline comes. Okay, so if we know that we're not on track to hit that £1,000 target, and we can do something about it in week 2 as opposed to week 4, and we get there and we think, oh, dang, I wish we'd have done something earlier. Okay, so this is why KPIs are so important. Now, this is just one very simple scenario. They can apply in many different contexts. You can talk about, let's say staff management, for example. Okay, now you can record performance indicators of staff members on these KPIs as well. And let's just say they have a monthly target to meet. Okay, now if they're underperforming in week 1 and week 2, you know that actually this team member isn't pulling their weight for the business, and very unfortunately, we're going to have to let them go. Otherwise, we're not going to hit our monthly target. Okay, now this is a very, very extreme scenario, and I sincerely hope that you never have to go through this as a digital agency owner, but it's important that I share it to show you the diversity in which you can use key performance indicators and just how powerful that they can be. Okay, so generally they exist in spreadsheet form and they record them with simple numerical statistics. So moving on to our third and final slide today, we're going to talk about reviewing your business regularly. Okay, so when you're reviewing your business on a regular basis, you want to update your SOPs if there's a development in the business or a mistake occurs. Okay, so reviewing your business regularly, like we spoke about at the start of today's presentation, we want to make sure that any documentation that needs fixed is getting fixed regularly. We want to make sure that any reviews are being done regularly. Okay, so the first thing to know about reviewing your business regularly is to update your SOPs if there is a development in the business or a mistake occurs. Okay, so the reason that you do this is so that you can fix it for the next time coming around. Now, this is just one example of how you can regularly review your business. So with your SOPs, there's not necessarily a set date that you should review them. It's just that if there's a development, i.e. something changes, okay, so we've got a new team member, or we've switched marketing platforms, or we've decided to sell in a different way, you would then of course have to update the SOP, okay? And we don't want things to become outdated in the business. If they become outdated, then we start to fall behind and we get a mountain of paperwork, of course, digital work in that sense, that we have to update and improve. Okay, so if we stay on top of it regularly, then we never accumulate this mountain that we're going to have to work through. Okay, and if a mistake occurs, it might mean that something was wrong in the SOP and it wasn't actually correct. So let's go back and let's fix that solution. Okay, now next thing you can do is continually set objectives to ensure that your business is on a growth trajectory. Okay, now the reason you do this is because in order to grow, we must set ourselves objectives. If we don't have a milestone or an objective to hit, how can we possibly hope to grow? Because when there's no objective, there's no milestone, there is no goal, there is no target. This means that really, whatever we do that month, we're going to be happy with, because we haven't actually set ourselves any kind of objective. So make sure that whether it be on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis, you are setting yourself objectives to make sure that you continually press forward throughout your business. We want it to be on a growth trajectory, okay? Now, the reason we want to be this way is so that we are always climbing, we're always improving in our business. Very, very important. Now, conduct quarterly reviews on your business position. Use these to assess adherence to previous objectives and set new ones. Now, it is important that these are done quarterly because you have to have enough time that has moved past for you to achieve set objectives from the past review. And it also allows you to review your business, not every day or every week in this context, but it allows us to make some good progress, sit down with yourself, with the team, and go over what's happened and what we want to do to improve. Okay, so by conducting quarterly reviews on your business, we can assess the adherence to previous objectives. Now, essentially what this means is, okay, well, if we said that we were going to hit a certain financial target, we said that we were going to hire a new team member, we said we were going to roll out this new service, if we haven't done any of this, then we know that something is wrong and that we have to actually reposition ourselves. So when we reference here reviews on your business position, your position means quite literally where your business is. Okay, is it where you want it to be or is it not where you want it to be? And that, whilst it may not seem like it, is a yes or no question. If it's where you want it to be, you can quite happily tick off all your previous objectives that you set yourself out to do. And if you cannot do that, then no, your business is not where you want it to be. Now, of course, the major benefit of this is that you can also sit down and set new objectives. Now, referencing back to being on a growth path, a growth trajectory, we make sure that we're always climbing. We can do this by the quarterly reviews. We can do this by setting objectives, okay? So one of the biggest and actually a really, really cool tip that not many businesses know is that you can create a list of issues you would like to solve and give them a timeline for the solution. Now, many businesses will try and act on a sort of basis where they solve problems when they arise, as opposed to creating an actual list. Okay, now the reason that we provide this list for ourselves is, of course, unless it's a burning red hot issue that needs to be dealt with right now, we can create almost like a snag list. If you imagine a construction worker going in and doing work on a house, they create a snag list. So essentially a snag list or an issue list is just a little list of things that we would like to be fixed, but it's not absolutely crucial that it gets done right now. Now, in most circumstances, a business will either A, know about these and ignore them, or B, try and deal with them straight away at the point of the problem, okay? So like we just discussed, unless it is a red hot burning problem, you do not need to solve it right now. Simply create a list of issues that you would like to solve and give them a timeline for solution. So if you said in quarter one, okay, we've got a list of 10 issues that I would like to resolve, whether it be organizational, maybe it's a bit of marketing, maybe it's a bit of website, whatever it is. If it's not essential, set yourself a timeline over the next quarter to get those things done. Now, if you sit down in quarter two and you haven't done it, then there is a problem in your business. Okay, so very, very good advice. Please take this home. Please implement it in your digital agency as soon as you can. And if you're a prospective digital agency owner, please be taking these notes down because they will be so useful when you do become a digital agency owner. Okay, so as always, as a big thank you for joining us on today's webinar, we have something for you. Okay, what I would love you to do, and what we here at iOB Business would love you to do, is to discover this opportunity for yourself. Okay, as a digital agency owner, one of the most powerful business out there today, one of the most powerful digital businesses out there today, discover what this opportunity could mean for you. Okay, now you can do this by booking a complimentary call to find out about our all-in-one solution. So if you remember back on slide one, I was talking about the massive power behind having such a strong organizational structure with everything that you could possibly need to run a digital agency. Okay, so if this is something that sounds of any interest to you at all, if you would love to enter the digital space, if you would love to become a successful digital agency owner one day, love to work for yourself and run your own company, then go ahead and book this call. It's not going to cost you anything to do it, but it could change how things are for you right now. Okay, so go over to iob-business.com/talk-to-us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my Q&A from today's session, and I'm going to leave that link up for you on screen so that you can access it. And if you just give me 2 moments, I'm going to go ahead and grab my questions. So it looks like I have 2 questions in today. Excellent, perfect. Okay, so question number 1 I have from today is, what does an SOP look like? Okay, so this is a brilliant question. And obviously SOP, or standard operating procedure, is a term that's used heavily in the business world. And it could be one that is not familiar to yourself if you're not wholly in the business world right now. So with an SOP, essentially what this stands for is standard operating procedure. So the standard operating aspect of this means that this is the standard way in which we would do this every time we did it. The operating component really comes down to operationally, how do we get this done? And the procedure really emphasizes the procedure is the process. This is how we do it. Okay, so standard operating procedure is the optimal way of doing something each time you do it. Now, what these should be is created in a form that is most readable to you. Okay, so like we discussed earlier, it could be bullet points, it could be a detailed sequential list of actions, but my advice personally is to make it brief yet informative. So don't spend hours and hours and hours making these standard operating procedures. Just make sure that you're creating ones that are efficient, they're effective, they're detailed, but they're not so long that people will become bored reading them and you will become bored writing them, okay? They need to translate the information across, but they don't need to be massively detailed if you don't want them to be, as long as they're getting the job done. Okay, now next up we have, how do I make sure client files are secure? Okay, fantastic question. Possibly you joined us a little later on the webinar today. But what we would advise is to never share with third parties without explicit permission, and protect your files by password on your computer or in an online drive like Google Drive or any kind of cloud system that you use online. Okay, so the key things about keeping files secure: make sure that it's password protected, make sure that nobody other than yourself or those with explicit permission can access it, and make sure that you are not sharing it with any third parties under any circumstances unless given explicit permission by the person that owns that information. Okay, so I believe, I'm just going to have a look through the questions and check that we haven't got any more in, but I do believe that is all the questions that we have today. So thank you so much for asking them. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us on today's webinar. Once again, you can book a complimentary call with us. It won't cost you anything, but it could change things for you massively and help you get into the digital space. So the link, once more, is on the bottom of this screen. iob-business.com/talk-to-us. Okay, so as always, it's been a real pleasure, and I very much look forward to seeing you again a couple of weeks from now. Bye for now.